to raise the dividend. But they were already having trouble convincing the markets that they could pay 11.5. If they had to raise the yield to 13 or 14 or 15%, it would compound the problem, because now you have a bigger obligation on Strategy. Because now Strategy has to pay even more income that it doesn't have. And what I knew is that now, because they could no longer sell any more Stretch, because the only way to sell more Stretch is to get the price up to 100. But he couldn't do that without substantially raising the yield. So I knew that he was out of the business of selling Stretch, which again, he described as the best product since the iPhone. They were, just grabbing them off the shelves. It was great. Yeah, it was great because it was too good to be true. People were buying this stuff. But I knew, okay, Saylor can't buy Bitcoin anymore by selling Stretch. How's he going to buy Bitcoin? Well, the only thing he can do is he can sell Strategy stock. But I thought he was stuck because that Strategy stock was no longer trading at a premium. So he couldn't create a positive Bitcoin yield. In fact, it was at a small discount. So I knew that if he actually sold Strategy stock to buy Bitcoin, shareholders would actually own less Bitcoin after they were bought, because he's actually selling more Bitcoin than he's buying because his stock is trading at a discount. So he has to sell more than a Bitcoin to buy a Bitcoin. So every time he buys Bitcoin by selling shares, he ends up with less Bitcoin per share. He has more Bitcoin in aggregate, but because he had to issue more shares, each share represents a lower quantity Bitcoin. So you're destroying shareholder value. And so I knew if he started to do that, the shareholders would run, because why sit around and wait for that? And the minute he do that, I knew that shares of Stretch were going to start to fall, and it was going to be a loop. It was going to be a death spiral, because the more Stretch went down, the more people were going to sell it, because now they're losing money. And now that puts more pressure to raise the yield, which he can't do, but he has to keep buying Bitcoin, and he can't sell Stretch. But now he can't buy Bitcoin. So now Bitcoin's going to go down because the biggest buyer is sidelined. And of course, then he's going to have to sell Bitcoin. And we know he can't sell Bitcoin. He tried to sell 32 Bitcoin, and the market collapsed. And so that's no longer an option. But how is he going to fund all these obligations if he can't sell Bitcoin? How is he going to pay interest when it's due? But he's got a lot more than that, or the principal rather, on the convertible notes when they're due. But now, and I've been warning about this also, it's the legal liabilities, because Strategy is going to get hit with lawsuits, shareholder lawsuits, especially from the Stretch shareholders who bought like $15 billion worth of this thing. They've got a great lawsuit. They can't lose as far as I'm concerned. And I pointed this out from the beginning, that basically Stretch came with a free put, because anybody who bought Stretch based on Saylor's material misrepresentations that that downplayed the risk and just pie in the sky on the return, they're going to get their money back. But not only is he going to get sued from the Stretch buyers, he's going to get sued from the common equity buyers. They're going to sue too. Their losses are enormous. And the reason that he has exposure there is that Strategy is a security regulated by the SEC. So a lot of guys that just go out there and pump Bitcoin, it's not a security. So, they have a lot more liberty to talk. Saylor does not. As the CEO or the chairman of a publicly traded company, he is held to a different standard. There are marketing rules and things that you can and can't say. Well, when he was out there telling people Bitcoin's going to 10 million, 20 million, worst case scenario, it goes to 5 million. You got to put all your money into Bitcoin. Don't own anything but Bitcoin. Mortgage your house to buy Bitcoin. Leverage your business to buy Bitcoin. Max out your credit cards to buy Bitcoin. Sell an organ to buy Bitcoin. I mean, all this stuff, to the extent that people did that. I mean, I doubt anybody sold their kidney, but there probably are people that took out loans and bought Bitcoin or Strategy. But the main reason he was promoting Bitcoin was to promote his own company, Strategy, because it was a Bitcoin treasury company creating Bitcoin credit. So these pie in the sky forecasts based on nothing, right? There's no way to defend these forecasts as being rationally based. It's just all hype. But it was all made to further the interest of Strategy, to pump up the price of the only asset that Strategy had. And people listened to that and they bought his stock, and they're going to lose a lot of money. Strategy is down 85% right now from its peak. These are massive losses. And so investors are going to file lawsuits against Strategy to recover these losses, and Strategy is going to lose. Where are they going to get the money to pay tens of millions in judgments? They only have one way to get it: selling their Bitcoin. And they're going to. And as I've said, this company is going bankrupt eventually. All that Bitcoin is going to be sold at a massive loss. They're not even going to raise enough money to pay off all their liabilities. But the common shares are going to be worthless, because in a bankruptcy, the preferred shares are senior to the common. And not only are they senior to get $100 to get par back, but if they suspend the dividend, all the unpaid dividends accumulate. And all of that has to be paid to the preferred before the common gets anything. But before they get anything, they're going to have to pay all the plaintiffs that win these lawsuits. And they're going to have to pay the creditors. Before the stretch shareholders get a dime, the convertible note holders have to be made whole. So this company is going to completely collapse. I was dead on accurate when I said it 3 weeks ago. Nobody was really talking about this the way I was. Now you have more people worried about it, given what happened this week. This was the week where the death spiral kicked into a much higher gear. And I'm going to talk about that on the other side of this.